the Wheat Ridge City Council, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Jerry DiTullio.
Here.
Zachary Urban.
Present.
Christy Davis.
Here.
Genevieve Wooden.
Here.
Tim Fitzgerald.
Here.
George Pond.
Present.
Tracy Langworthy. Bud Starker.
Present.
Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you.
And just, if I could interrupt on the next item, the approval of the minutes, I've already been informed by one council member that the minutes of, what date was it, Mr. Starker?
April 20th.
One of the sets of minutes did not have the odd pages in the online version that was sent to you. It's in the hard packet, and I will tell Janice about that and get that to you as tomorrow.
Okay. All right, are there any changes to the minutes? We have two business minutes and one study session notes on May 4th. Are any changes to those minutes? If not, they stand approved as delivered. We don't have any proclamations tonight. Citizens' right to speak. Do we have some citizens here wish to speak? This would be matters that are not on the agenda tonight. Thank you. All right, we have I have four names here. I think it's Alex Christis. Yes, please come forward. Followed by Vicki Otteson.
Hi, my name is Alex Cusis. I'm here on behalf of the Wheat Ridge Garden Tour just to announce and to invite you all to attend this year's tour. It's the 5th annual. It is happening on Saturday, July 11th. We have a bike tour. Tickets start at 8 a.m. and the tickets are on sale through 1 p.m. So the bike tour is between 8 and 8:30, and then otherwise it's self-guided. Does anybody have any questions about the tour?
Could you spell your last name?
I sure can. It's Kuisis.
Thank you.
So it's, like I said, the 5th year it's been happening in Wheat Ridge, and so far in those 5 years, we've donated $5,300 back into Wheat Ridge community charities,
Wow, great.
which is just a fun fact for you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Vicki Otteson? So you're saying ditto? Okay, ditto. That was quick. Vivian Voss, followed by Larry Matthews. Your name and address, please.
Good evening. Vivian Voss, 6920 West 47th Place. I've been asked by other persons to read a letter to the council and staff, and at my first run through, it ran out at 4 minutes timing, and I would like to ask permission now that I can just go the 4 minutes uninterrupted.
Fine with me.
Sounds like the council's in agreement.
All right, then, thank you. To City Council members and staff, from Jim and Patty Meeker, property and business owners of Meeker Auto Sales, 6795 West 38th Avenue. At the City Council study session on May 18, 2015, I am Patty, just so you know. I had the opportunity to speak with City Councilwoman Wooden regarding amenities, streetscape design, and private property use for 38th Avenue. As we all know, this has been a very controversial subject for a long time. There are many business owners as well as citizens that are not happy with the road diet configuration. As I was discussing this with Ms. Wooden, I realized that she was very frustrated and agitated listening to what I had to say. I felt it is very important to make it clear where Jim and I stand on this issue. Since 2B was not approved by the voters, but the issue is still on the table, we asked for a 4-lane design option on 38th Avenue with left turn lanes at Harlan and Pierce be presented to the citizens and business owners. We agree that sidewalks, amenities, and streetscape are in dire need of improvement. It will require land from property owners along 38th Avenue in order to accomplish the 4-lane design with amenities and streetscape. As we discussed this with Ms. Wooden, she was very adamant that property owners would never be willing to give up any of their property. I asked her if city staff had ever made an effort to ask them because city staff had never asked Jim and me. She replied in a condescending tone, "Well, would you?" My answer was yes. Ms. Wooden then said she needed to leave and abruptly ended the conversation. At that moment, I realized as a business owner for over 15 years on 38th Avenue how little we are regarded by our peers and especially City Council. Her actions only confirmed that what we have felt all along, and that is city officials haven't been listening to what Jim and I have to say. Let me make this clear. The northeast corner of 38th and Pierce is not just our property. It's our place of business and livelihood. Imagine for a moment your paycheck, reputation, and family's well-being depended on this vehicle and foot traffic. Would you not do all in your power to bring people to it? I would be willing to bet you would. Jim and I are very passionate about what happens on 38th Avenue, and our number one priority is our customers and our business community. We are asking for a 4-lane option with amenities and streetscape design options that encompass the needs of all our citizens. Our door is and always has been open as we welcome city staff to meet and discuss this important issue and decision. Ms. Wooden, you have a habit of chastising, ignoring, and acting rudely towards your fellow members of council and citizens when they disagree with your vision. It is time that you start respecting the city of office council person and respectfully listen to all sides of the issue before making a decision. City council works for residents and business owners, not the city manager and staff. Thank you, Jim and Patty Meeker.
May I respond now, or should I wait till the end of the meeting?
Why don't we finish, and then you may respond.
Okay.
That would be appropriate. Mr. Matthews?
Larry Matthews, 3851 Hoyt Street. Thank you. Originally tonight I was going to speak to you about urban planning. I was going to give you one of my snippets, but something happened this morning that changed my mind. As I was on my way over to the rec center this morning, I was walking through towards, from Independence through the junior high, Everett. And if you're familiar with that territory, as you come through that little short driveway off Independence, everything there, you're on the side of the hill and it just opens up. And there were trees to the north. The trees that we have down through that area covered the red brick office building north of the creek on Kipling and helped kind of camouflage the rec center. And it was just a magnificent vista. We have trees to the north. You have a valley going out to the west towards Golden, and you could see across a sea of trees all the way to Highway 93 in the foothills. And with the moisture we've had, the hogback was dappled green, and you could see snow-capped mountains in the background. We truly have a magnificent location in the city, and sometimes I think we just forget to look at it. And I hope we can all come together and realize what a unique opportunity we have in this city. Look at our webpage. On our webpage, we have a picture of goats and chickens. And further down on the webpage, we have an article that says we're the 3rd favorite destination for young professionals. Now, maybe we don't need to worry as much about what we don't have and consider the blessings that we do have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Ms. Wooden, if you want to.
Sure. At the meeting that the Meekers mentioned in their letter, we had taken a break and I had gone out to use the facilities, and as I was coming back in, the door had been closed, The meeting had already begun, and I was trying to get back in, and the Meekers wanted to talk to me, and I kept trying to get into the meeting because I was late. And that is why I was a bit agitated, because I was trying to get back in. When the Meekers said to me that all of the property owners would be willing to give up land along 38th Avenue, I had to question them because I don't believe they speak for everyone along 38th Avenue. There's numerous business owners, and each business owner has the right, whether or not they want to work with the city, to give up their land. So that comment I did question him on, because I do not feel that the Meekers speak for all 38th Avenue property owners. I thank the Meekers for being passionate about 38th Avenue, and I'd like to remind them that many other people are passionate about 38th Avenue and about bringing people to that area and creating a vibrant district. What seems to be somewhat of a sticking point among all of our citizens is what that district looks like. And I would encourage all of us to come together and look for a district that is going to satisfy the greatest amount of people. And lastly, if the Meekers were offended by something that I said to them, I do apologize. Based on how the Meekers have acted both in City Council and on social media, I am quite cautious with them. And I apologize again if they felt that I was acting condescending to them. However, I am very cautious based on their previous actions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I believe we can move on to approving of the agenda. Are there any changes in tonight's agenda? None, then we'll go forward. We'll move on to item number 1. Mr. Starker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As soon as I resize this screen so that I can read it, I will be with you. Thank you. I'm pleased to introduce item number 1. This is Council Bill number 09-2015, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, Development Revenue Note in a principal amount not to exceed $1 million to finance improvements to the Seniors Resource Center. At issue in this item, the Seniors Resource Center is requesting that the city act as a conduit issuer for tax-exempt financing in an amount not to exceed $1 million to fund the construction of the SRC Phase 2 Facility Expansion Project. Bank-qualified, tax-exempt financing will allow the SRC to receive a much better interest rate than through a traditional bank loan. As a governmental entity, the city will strictly act as a conduit for this transaction and will have no financial responsibility.
Thank you. I do need an ordinance number on that, and then I'll open the public hearing.
This will be ordinance number 1571.
Thank you. I'm opening the public meeting now, and I will be will there be anybody speaking on this particular item? If so, please stand so I can swear you in, either staff or applicant.
Mayor, we don't plan to have a presentation tonight, but we do have representatives from the Senior Resource Center in Butler Snow if there's any questions from City Council.
Okay. Did you want to stand? If there are any questions, did you plan to speak? Let me ask that.
Looks like there might be some questions.
Yes, Mr. Zabawa, I'm sorry. All right. I'm going to go ahead and swear you in just in case so that we are prepared. Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth as you understand it? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, that being the case, we can really move right on to questions of Mr. Zabawa regarding this.
I don't really have a question, but I just want a clarification, not even a clarification, but a reiteration based off of some of the study session discussions, just in case folks tune into the studies or they tune into the regular council meeting and not the study session. But just for a clarification or reiteration, this note, the city's not held responsible for the note. It's just we're able to bond at a better rate. So the city's not at risk. It's the Senior Resource Center that is taking that risk on this note and bond. Is that correct?
That is correct. The City of Wheat Ridge is just acting as a conduit because we're a governmental entity. We qualify for bank-qualified tax-exempt financing. Senior Resource Center cannot do that on their own. So the Senior Resource Center facility would be held as collateral for the loan. So if they defaulted, the bank would come after their building,
Okay,
not the city.
thank you. I just wanted the clarification, just in case folks missed the study session.
Appreciate that. Any other discussion or, no? I believe that I'm going to close the public hearing then and request a motion.
I move to approve Council Bill number 09, 2015, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado Development Revenue Note Senior Resource Center, Inc. project, Series 2015, in a principal amount not to exceed $1 million to finance certain facilities that provide daycare, respite, transportation, and other services to seniors, authorizing the execution and delivery by the city of a financing agreement, a note, and closing documents in connection therewith, making determinations as to the sufficiency of revenue and as to other matters related to the project, ratifying action heretofore taken, and providing other matters relating thereto on second reading, and that it take effect immediately upon adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? If not, we can go ahead and vote. Go ahead and please, I'm sorry, there was some discussion?
Well, I just wanted to say I'm going to vote for this motion. I think I'm excited to have the Seniors Resource Center in our community. They do good work in District 1. I'm pleased to have them. This project will rehabilitate or continue to revive the old Columbia Heights School. So we're keeping a piece of history and doing energy retrofits, and so I think it's a great project.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, go ahead and cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, Mr. DiTullio.
Yes, item number 2 is resolution number 30-2015, a resolution approving a 3-lot subdivision plat with lot width variances for property zoned residential 2 R2, located at 7193 West 32nd Avenue, case number WS 1501. The applicant is requesting approval of a 3-lot subdivision plat for property zoned residential 2 R2 and located at 7193 West 32nd Avenue. The property is nearly 1 acre in size at 38,879 square feet. Because the applicant is seeking to preserve the existing farmhouse, the lot layout requires 2 lot width variances. Ultimately, the purpose of the request is to create 3 residential lots, one for the existing farmhouse and one for the development of a new single-family home, and one to remain initially undeveloped. At a public hearing on May 7th, 2015, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the lot with variances and approval of the subdivision plat. I believe this is a resolution, so it does not need an ordinance number.
Correct. I am going, however, does require a public hearing, which I'm going to open that right now. Will we have a staff presentation? Will there be any applicants discussing this or explaining anything? Yes? Would you please stand, sir? Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth as you understand it? And if so, answer, I do. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I do have just a couple of slides to help illustrate this request. Okay, good evening. For the record, Lauren Michalak. I'm a planner with the City of Wheat Ridge Community Development Department, and I'll be presenting this case tonight. I would like to enter into the public record the contents of the case file, zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations, and this presentation. Property is within the City of Wheat Ridge. All appropriate notification and posting requirements have been met. So just briefly, like I said, I have an excerpt from the zoning map and the aerial that I wanted to share. Subject property is highlighted in blue here. It's at the corner of Teller and West 32nd Avenue. It is zoned residential 2. That's a zone district that allows for single family and 2 family dwellings. You can see that it's pretty well surrounded to the east, west, and north by other properties, zone R2. Those do include both single family and duplexes in this neighborhood.
To the south, across West 32nd Avenue, is a parcel zone planned residential development, that's PRD. And that particular property includes 1 single-family home, 4 duplexes, and 17 condos, so there's some variety in terms of the housing stock in this area. This is a copy of, or an image of the aerial without the zoning. Again, the property's highlighted in blue, and you can see that it's substantially larger than the other properties in the neighborhood. Again, just shy of an acre at almost 39,000 square feet. On this image, you can see that there's several buildings or roofs on the property. Some of these outbuildings have been removed. They were in pretty poor shape. But this building down here, the intricate roof line, is that historic farmhouse. It was built in 1899. It's a single-family home, and that home, the preservation of that home, is really what's guided the lot line design. And in this image, we superimpose those proposed lot lines over that aerial. The corner lot, again, has been designed to accommodate that existing farmhouse. This interior lot would be eligible for a new single-family home, and then it's the property to the north that is large enough for duplex, but at this time is not planned to be developed. The reason I wanted to give a few comments, and the reason council is hearing this plat tonight, is because there's a variance associated with the subdivision. Typically, a 3-lot subdivision is eligible for administrative approval, but not when there's a variance request. And the only reason that there's a variance associated is because of the applicant's desire to preserve that farmhouse. It's really the location of this home that's resulting in this north-south orientation of these 2 single-family lots. 75 feet is the standard width for a single-family home in the R2 zone district, and these 2 will be 73 feet and 68.5 feet respectively, so slightly substandard. They are, however, significantly oversized for single-family lots. The minimum requirement is 9,000 square feet, and these are over 12,000 and 13,500 respectively. So larger than our minimum and also larger than the neighborhood average, which is about 10,500 square feet. I should point out that if the farmhouse were to be demolished, the applicant could have designed a 3-lot subdivision that fully met the R2 standards and would be processed administratively. In that scenario, the lots would have all been oriented east-west. Ultimately, staff is recommending approval of the request. The lot width variances do comply with the review criteria. All agencies can serve the property, with exception of that lot width. The plat is meeting all of the subdivision regulations. We are recommending 3 conditions, and those relate to public improvements and a requirement for fees in lieu of parkland dedication. That concludes my comments. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here in attendance tonight.
Council have any questions of Ms. Macklack? None? Okay. Is the applicant available, and does the applicant wish to speak?
I'm actually the applicant.
You're actually the applicant.
Yeah.
Please.
That's my father.
Okay. Did you, I understand you were not sworn in. Go ahead and then raise your right hand. Just going up to raise your right hand. And do you swear to tell the truth in these matters as you understand them? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
The one thing that I wanted to just ask for is if you guys do approve the 3-lot subdivision, is that the park fees be waived that are $5,000.
Could I get your name and address?
David Mann,
And-
7193 West 32nd Avenue,
Okay.
Can you spell your last name, please?
MANN.
Thank you.
And your request was that the park fees be waived? Okay. All right. Are there any questions of the applicant stay here, please? From the council? No? All right. You may take your seat then. Okay. I have some public testimony here. We'll take that now. Nyla Mann? Okay. Dave Mann. Philip?
I'd like to speak.
Okay.
thank you all for hearing our request.
Can you say your name and
Yeah,
spell
my
your
name is Philip Mann. I am a partner and owner with David Mann, the applicant for the property. Since the last meeting, the Planning Commission meeting, which was approved unanimously, my wife and I actually moved into the old farmhouse. So we're residents, new residents of Wheat Ridge now, and we're looking forward to my son and his family and my little granddaughter to build the house next door to us so that we can have our family close together. One of the things that shocked me when we were asking to get this done was the amount of money and the amount of improvements that we have to do in order to get this to happen. The curb and gutter and the sidewalks are going to be many thousands of dollars, probably $25,000, $26,000 just to put that in. And I also would like to ask that the park dedication fees be waived. That was something that I just didn't really understand. We're not really adding that many people to the area, just the 5 of us really. The lot in the back, and we're not even going to develop that. We'd like to make an urban garden back there. So would appreciate that you would hear that request. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the applicant? Well, no?
I'm sorry?
I just wondered if the council had any questions of you while you were here. Apparently not. Okay. I have one more speaker here. Thank you. Mr. Slattery, and I have not sworn you in either, and in this case, I believe I would. Help me out here? Yes? Yes. Mr. Slattery, I am required to swear you in since we're still in the middle. Thank you very much. Do you swear to tell the whole truth in this as you understand it in these matters?
I swear.
I do. Thank you.
I have some comments here. I don't agree with staff's evaluation of this subdivision in any way, shape, or form. Of the 9 criteria, 2 are not relevant, so there are only 7. The first one, staff agrees, has not been met. The second one is, I think, a thorn in our neighborhood. The variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. Putting a house that big on a lot a mere 68.5 feet wide on a corner lot is not defensible as not altering the neighborhood. The applicant is proposing a substantial investment in the property with this application, which would not be possible without the variance. Again, I challenge this. A 2-lot subdivision is very feasible here. The fact that these are oversized lots, that's a character of the neighborhood. There are many single-family and double-family homes on extremely large lots on both sides of 32nd Avenue and throughout the R2 zone. So I think that one is false. The particular physical surrounding shape or topographical condition of the specific property results in a particular and unique hardship distinguished from a mere inconvenience. Again, they bought the lot knowing what it was. The fact that they can't develop it to the extent they wish to, in my understanding of zoning law, is not a hardship. The alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any persons presently having an interest in the property. Again, I disagree. You buy the property knowing what it is, and then come wanting a higher use of the land. You are creating your own hardship as far as I can see. Item 6, I think, is questionable, that it will not be detrimental to the public or harm property values. I think that's highly questionable. Again, item 7, the staff agrees that that's not been met. The unusual circumstances or conditions necessitating the variance request are present in the neighborhood and are not unique in the property. And staff says this has not been met. I concur with staff. So of the 7, I am disagreeing with, I am saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have not been met. So the majority of the requirements are not met. And I think
I think
if
you're
you
out of,
want an urban garden, that old house property to the east is an ideal site for an urban garden.
thank you, Mr. Slattery. You're out of time now.
Thank you.
Did you give your address before you began?
6869 West 32nd Avenue.
Okay, thank
Madam
you.
Mayor, I don't believe,
Same super block as this property.
Okay.
I don't believe we have a time limit on public hearings for the public.
We don't. That's true.
No?
That's correct. We don't.
Yeah, thank you very much. The applicant, do you want to respond at all to what's been said? No, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, I am going to close the public hearing unless there's more questions.
Madam Mayor, there's at least for the record, I should advise you of kind of a procedural issue, I think, around the request for a waiver of the parkland dedication fee. There's a process for that in the code, and that requires a written request to the community development director. There's standards that you have to address in your written request. Ultimately, the code provides that it is the city council that makes that final decision, but as a predicate to that, we have to follow the process, and the process is not something also waivable by the council. You can't sort of rewrite the code
Right.
to allow that. So you may well want to, well, to the extent the council is inclined to consider that waiver request, then you would need to continue this hearing to 2 weeks from now. Suggest that the applicant will need to file that request letter. If the applicant does, that's fine, it can be heard. If the applicant doesn't, nevertheless, we'll still come back in 2 weeks, close the hearing, and take action. But you wouldn't have jurisdiction to act on the parkland dedication fee request unless you had that letter in hand that had been reviewed by the Community Development Department.
So I'm understanding that at this evening, that would not be a part of our decision or anything we might recommend at this point.
That's
until
correct.
its
I mean,
proper
yeah, you-
application has been made.
That's right. You certainly go ahead with the review, and you could certainly approve the subdivision with the variance that's been requested because that went through the process. That would mean that the parkland dedication fee would remain in place.
Mr. DiTullio?
Mr. Dahl, would it be appropriate on the motion to say the fees would be waived pending the letter from the applicant and then reviewed by city staff, and then if they felt it didn't meet the criteria, that they could bring it back?
No, honestly, the request has to come to you. And the only way for the request to come to you is that there be a letter, it goes community development, then it goes technically through planning commission, because planning commission heard this as well. I don't think that that would be required, but nevertheless, they're going to have to ask and assemble the justification for that, which you then have to be able to see, not kind of, you can't sort of, that's sort of rewriting the code process to have the community development department, say whether or not they object. And I get it that if there's a desire to sort of act on all of it tonight, we can't sort of create a process for that. That isn't provided for in the code. It would be a 2-week delay if the applicant's interested in that waiver being acted on. You might well ask them, the hearing's still open, but it would be a 2-week delay so that they can write the letter and comply with the code so that you have jurisdiction to act yes or no on that request.
Just one more question. So we can't approve the majority of this and have them bring back that other section as a separate item, the waiver of the fee as a separate item, go through planning commission and city council, but in the meantime, we could approve the variance possibly, and then the subdivision?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It'd be sort of a freestanding variance request, which is a little unusual. Let me take just a minute to
Hold on, I've got
think
some.
about that.
So I guess what I'm hearing is if we just do a continuance, either way, it's going to be a 2-week delay, because if the applicant's still interested in asking for that waiver, it's going to be a 2-week delay, and in 2 weeks, then we could then
Act on the whole thing.
act on the whole thing. But either way, it's going to be 2 weeks, so,
Yeah.
Not unless we did two
The thing that
yeah, but they're still going to be.
I have
delayed.
some
not if you voted for.
concern about is setting up a sort of a freestanding variance request for just the parkland fee. What do you think of that?
It's certainly not something I could point to a section of the code for how we would process that, because it's a waiver, not a variance, and a standalone variance would go in the first instance to the Board of Adjustment as opposed to City Council.
I think that's right. I mean, the waiver is just intimately bound up with the subdivision application, and typically waivers are designed to say waive this much curb and sidewalk, waive this much, various forms of dedication. I looked and thought a little bit about whether a parkland dedication fee is even an improvement that could be subject to a waiver, and I came to the conclusion that, yeah, it probably is based upon how other things in the code are written, but there just isn't an independent process to do a waiver of a subdivision that was previously approved is really what's going on.
Mr. Pond?
So it sounds like we can entertain a motion for continuance. Inside of the discussion of that, we can talk about that waiver, what we feel about that waiver, or anything else like that. If that motion for continuance passes, it's going to, our discussion information will provide information for the applicant, and it would move forward 2 weeks. If that continuance motion fails, then we could hear the original motion.
Yes, I think that's right.
Mr. Dollar recommended we ask them if they want a continuation or not.
So we would need to ask the applicant, explaining what we're doing. As I understand, in order to do the park, to waive the park fee, we need to continue this motion or continue this item versus, I am kind of curious why we don't just finish this up tonight, approve the subdivision, and then when the applicant comes back or at 2 weeks from now, the applicant, could go ahead and apply, and then we would look 2 weeks from now. No.
The problem is
No.
we don't have a process for that.
We don't have a process,
I mean,
okay.
really what you've got here is a process that contemplates that waivers take place as a part of subdivision review. And you don't sort of take out a knife and sort of slice up the pieces of a subdivision review and kind of have them on independent tracks. So the code doesn't contemplate that. It just doesn't.
All right. So we need a response from the applicant, whether with a 2 weeks continuance so that you can properly apply, and then we can accommodate that address the park waivance. Park fee waiver.
At the mic.
Yes, please.
I just have one question. So the park fee, does it actually go to the parks or Wheat Ridge directly?
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll just remove the request and just handle everything tonight.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, I believe I can close the public hearing now. And may I have a motion?
I move to approve resolution, number 30-2015, a resolution approving a 3-lot subdivision plat with variances for property zoned R2 located at 7193 West 32nd Avenue for the following reasons. City Council has conducted a proper public hearing that meets all the public notice requirements as required by Section 26-109 and 26-407 of the Code of Laws. The requested subdivision has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, which has forwarded its recommendation. The subdivision plat has been found in compliance with Article 4 of Chapter 26 of the Code of Laws. All agencies can provide services to the property with improvements installed at the developer's expense. The variance request is in compliance with the majority of the review criteria and with the following conditions. 1, curb and gutter improvements shall be constructed along Teller Street and West 32nd Place. Fees in lieu of sidewalk construction shall be provided at the time of recordation if the sidewalk is not otherwise to be constructed by the applicant. Fees in lieu of parkland dedication shall be provided at the time of recordation.
Second.
And as you know, because there's a variance involved here, requires a supermajority, 6 votes.
Any further discussion on this item? Then let's go ahead and cast your votes. Oh, we do, Mr. DiTullio.
So I had an opportunity to watch the Planning Commission. I saw a lot of folks that I know from District 1 who've been involved in heightened density issues for a long time, and their concern was the density of this project. But really, I wouldn't call this a gentrification of the neighborhood because like it happened across the street many years ago, in doing my research, the applicant could actually buy the property, which is almost an acre. They could scrape everything and then come to council and rezone it to a PRD, planned residential development, which would be potentially 21 units per acre, which is way higher density than 3 units. And so even though they can have legal protests, and if they did scrape the house, they could actually have 3 duplexes. So that's still higher density than what they're asking for now. The fact of the matter is that you have one family that's going to live there. That's the parents. This is a great old house. It's 1899 construction. It's a nice place, really. And so I would hope the council would approve this variance because I think it's a lot more important to have this type of infill redevelopment than to see entire blocks scraped and rezoned to planned residential developments or high-density developments like you're seeing in Highlands.
Any other comments or discussion? Mr. Fitzgerald.
I would just like to thank the applicant for his public spirit in allowing this to go forward.
Anyone else? Please cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, Mr. Pond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Happy to introduce Council Bill number 10-2015, an ordinance amending Articles 2 and 6 of Chapter 26 of the Code of Laws concerning residential side and rear setbacks, case number ZOA-15-02. At issue, this ordinance amends setback requirements for side and rear yards that face public streets. The amendment affects only substandard residential lots, those that are 60 feet or less in width. The purpose of this amendment is to reduce the setback burden or substandard properties and establish standards for new construction that are more consistent with existing neighborhood conditions.
This is first reading. I don't know, we probably don't have a report from staff.
Is a motion in order?
A motion is in order.
I move to approve Council Bill number 10-2015, an ordinance amending Articles 2 and 6 of Chapter 26 Code of Laws concerning residential side and rear setbacks on first reading, order it published, public hearing set for Monday, July 13th, 2015 at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it take effect 15 days after publication.
Second.
And it's been seconded by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Item number 4, once again, first reading, Councilmember Starker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to introduce item number 4. This is Council Bill number 11-2015, an ordinance vacating an existing utility easement on property zone residential 3, R3, located at 3601 Eaton Street. Case number VW-15-01 STEC. At issue in this matter, the applicant is requesting approval of an easement vacation on property located at 3601 Eaton Street. The property has an existing 13-unit multifamily structure and associated parking and landscaping on it. The property has a 50-foot wide utility easement running beneath the building, which the potential buyer would like to have vacated. There are no overhead or underground utilities located in the easement. Is a motion in order?
Yes, it is.
I move to approve Council Bill number 11, 2015, an ordinance vacating an existing utility easement on property zone residential 3 located at 3601 Eaton Street on first reading. Order it published. Public hearing set for Monday, June 22nd, 2015 at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it take effect immediately after final publication.
May I have a second? Mr. DiTullio seconded. I believe you can go ahead and cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0.
And item 5, Ms. Langworthy.
Thank you, Mayor. Council Bill number 12-2015, an ordinance amending Article 5 of Chapter 19 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning alarm systems. At issue, Article 5 of Chapter 19 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws requires the police department to implement a licensing scheme for alarm providers operating within the city and to assess and collect charges for repetitive false alarms. The police department does not perform either task and believes that these code provisions are not currently necessary to ensure that alarm companies are legitimate and well operated. This ordinance amends Article 5 of Chapter 19 to eliminate the licensing and charge imposition provisions. Motion in order?
Yes, please.
I move to approve Council Bill number 12-2015, an ordinance amending Article 5 of Chapter 19 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning alarm systems on first reading, order it published, public hearing set for Monday, June 22nd, 2015 at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication.
Second.
Seconded. Who got it? Oh, Ms. Wooden.
You,
Thank you. Ms. Wooden got
that?
the second. Okay. Please go ahead and cast your votes.
motion carries 8-0.
Item number 6, once again on first reading. Ms. Davis.
Thank you. Council Bill number 13, 2015, an ordinance approving the renewal of cable television franchise with Comcast of Colorado 4, LLC, and in connection therewith, repealing and reenacting Section 23-1 of the Code of Laws. The City of Wheat Ridge has been in negotiations with Comcast of Colorado 4, LLC, herewithin referred to as Comcast, for the renewal of cable television franchise allowable under Chapter 23 Television Cable Systems in the City Code. The franchise covers television cable services only and does not apply to internet and phone service. The Comcast franchise was last renewed by City Council on February 26, 2001. Currently, Comcast is in the sole cable provider in Wheat Ridge via a non-exclusive franchise originally granted in 1981 and renewed in March 19, 2001 through April 1, 2013. City Council approved an amendment to the existing franchise on March 25, 2013, extending the franchise until December 31, 2014. The city and Comcast agreed to wait until franchise negotiations in neighboring communities were completed before beginning negotiations for Wheat Ridge.
Caught me here. Are you?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
I think that covers most of it. The rest of
Okay,
it's kind of,
this is on first reading, so go ahead and give us a motion.
oh man, I just lost it. Hold on.
It's deep in there.
I should have stalled.
Page 9.
So if that means I would have had to memorize it. Okay. I move to approve Council Bill number 13-2015, an ordinance approving the renewal of cable television franchise with Comcast of Colorado 4, LLC, and in connection therewith, repealing and reenacting Section 23-1 of the Code of Laws. Order it published, public hearing set for Monday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers, and that it take effect 15 days after publication.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Starker. Please cast your votes.
Motion carries 8-0. Madam Mayor, was
Another tough one, huh?
the second Mr. Starker or Mr. Urban?
Starker.
Okay. Thank you.
That concludes our business meeting tonight. Are there any city managers' matters?
Thank you, Mayor. Just some updates for announcements for the public. June 18th, our farmers market's coming back. It's in front of the Ross and Big Lots stores on Wadsworth. It's from 10 to 2 every Thursday, I believe. That is a Thursday throughout the summer. Then also Sprouts, talking about vegetables and farmers market goods. Sprouts has its ribbon cutting scheduled for June 24th at 7 a.m. So you're all invited to that. That'll be their first day open. Thank you.
City Attorney's matters?
None tonight, thanks.
City Clerk?
Nothing?
Elected officials? Mr. DiTullio, you want to start?
Sure, I wanted to pass out something here, Mr. Goff. Here's one for you and Mr. Dahl. And I'll just pass this out, please. So I know that we're going to be not meeting for a couple of weeks here because of 4th of July and some other issues. So I wanted to give you, I was asked by Wheat Ridge Local to keep Wheat Ridge Local to give you the ballot question for the TIF ballot question, which they're passing around. And I'm not going to read it in its entirety, but I thought that it might be important for everybody to know that there's that effective date at the bottom. It says this amendment will take effect and apply to all actions undertaken by any agency, agent, authority, commission, committee, city council, department, employee, or official of the city of Wheat Ridge subsequent to March 31st, 2015. And so the reason why that's a concern is because I had a good lunch with Wazi Partners last week, and they're looking at bringing in a project which would be condos for sale, underground parking, plaza area, public area, possibly a library. And I said, well, good luck to that one because of how the Jefferson County Library works. But they're looking at a TIF that's going to be higher than potentially 2.5 million. And so I said, well, I'll let council know what's going on because my concern is that, and this is all kind of, there's all these moving parts. You have 38th and Wadsworth, 38th and Upham. You have this ballot question coming in. And so questions have been asked, what does council need to do to forego the ballot question getting on the ballot? And Mr. Stark and I had a pretty good conversation about it today. I don't know what the answer is. I'm really not going to here to debate it or talk about it, other than I wanted to give you the information about the ballot question and then potentially some motions that I thought council could make in the future to avoid a lose-lose here, because my concern is if we approve any TIF within the next couple of months and this ballot question passes and they're getting signatures now, then all those TIFs are going to have to go to the voters. So I'm just giving you some information that you might find interesting, and that's really it. So the other thing is I'm teaching from 8 to 12 this summer for a few with students with autism. So I'll be at school from 8 to 12 at South Lakewood Elementary. So if you're trying to get a hold of me, I'll be out free afternoon. If you can call me on my cell phone if you have any questions. So that's the blessing and the curse of me being during summer school, because I work on the types of stuff and try to give council all the information I can as one member of council, so you have all the information when you're making a decision. So, thank you.
Thank you for that information. Let's go ahead. Christie? Ms. Davis?
So I have a couple things. I guess I was going to speak to this, but I'll wait. I'm not sure if Mr. Dahl might speak to it. I don't know. I know your role is not to advise the folks that are writing the ballot question, and I think I'll just leave it at that. So I do have on Wednesday my last catch up with Christy at Grammy's Goodies from 2 to 3. So I've tried to do each one of them at different times so that it meets any and all comers. So one was on a Saturday, one was Saturday morning, one was on a Thursday evening, and this one's a Wednesday afternoon. So I invite you all to join me at Grammy's Goodies. It's a new business on Harlan. It's 4601 Harlan, and actually the owner is a Wheat Ridge resident. When I walked in, I actually realized it was someone I went to high school with. So I invite you from 2 to 3 to join me, and we can catch up with some of the things going on with the city. I'd love to hear folks' comments, and The last two have been very, really great groups, very positive, good people. So I welcome you all to the meeting on Wednesday from 2 to 3. And the garden tour, because I happen to be one of the stops.
Oh. Mr. Urban?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I wanted to bring up a question that I had regarding the development at 38th and Wadsworth, and this may be a question for either Patrick or the city attorney. As it relates to the property that Renewal Wheat Ridge owns and the cleanup that occurred on that property, my understanding was, based on resolutions passed on council, that we would have an EPA grant cover the costs of that environmental remediation. But as I understand it, that grant was never applied for. And then at the same time, once that grant wasn't applied for, then the Urban Renewal Authority passed a resolution to apply for a revolving loan fund through CHAFA, but that was never used. And we went forward with paying for the remediation through the use of proceeds from the development at 44th and Upham. Is that the
it was, yeah, I'll start with that last question. The cleanup is being paid for from funds that the Urban Renewal Authority has in their accounts, and those funds come from City Council. It's a $300,000 annual allotment. To speak to back up a little bit, I'm not familiar or remembering a resolution where that said an EPA grant was going to be used. We did try to apply for an EPA grant to clean up the property. Unfortunately, when we purchased the property, a phase 1 environmental assessment was already done on the property. And then when we started to look at the EPA grant procedures, they required that an application be filed within 6 months of that phase 1 being done. And because of the timing and when we purchased it and the phase 1 already being done, we weren't eligible. We went to the EPA and tried to fight the case, and EPA staff, it kind of agreed with us that they thought it was a bad policy, but they couldn't change anything. We went to Congressman Perlmutter and tried to get him to see if he could change the rules and procedures of the EPA, but we had no luck. So we did apply for a low-interest loan through CHAFA, but fortunately the Urban Renewal Authority had enough cash on hand, so we didn't need to use that loan. So we figured there's no sense of paying interest, even low interest on a loan, if we had the cash on hand.
I guess my question relates to when, so I believe it was either Resolution 3, 2014 and Resolution 4, 2014 that both had us set aside a match to that grant, but also supported the application for that grant. But neither one of those actions were taken, but then there was no feedback given back to us that didn't occur. I don't remember being told that action wasn't being carried out.
I'm sorry, I can't really speak to any specific memo or discussion, but I'm thought that that information had been provided. Obviously, the Urban Renewal Authority knew about it. They were administering this project. Apologize if that information didn't come back to council, but I'm pretty sure it did. I can do some research to see if there was a memo or an update.
And that was my question to staff, as to, obviously we get a lot of information that comes across, and I wouldn't be the first to, not catch everything that comes across, but I would hope that if we've laid out a course of action and that course doesn't come to fruition, that we at least be notified that hasn't happened. And
I agree.
My second question is, as it relates to that phase 1 study, why wouldn't another phase 1 study be completed once we purchase it, if we know that's the requirement to get, if the phase 1 study costs X and the grant is Y,
we attempted to do that also, but the timing to get a new phase 1 done would not be completed before the application process for that year was required. And we didn't want to wait a whole another year because we thought the project was moving forward more quickly, and we wanted to get the property cleaned up.
And so then, will that $300,000 expenditure by the Urban Renewal Authority be considered in this project in any way, or is it excluded from this project?
I'm sorry, another question.
Sorry, man, go ahead.
It's not considered specifically, it's a city contribution or urban renewal authority contribution to the project. As you know, the developer did ask for a significantly more amount of money than we are currently negotiating for a TIF project. So it's part of the city's and urban renewal authority's contribution to the project, economic development project. The property is going to be sold back to the developer at a higher price than we purchased it. And also the Bank of Denver, who we purchased the property from, contributed $40,000 to the cleanup.
Sure, but they may be paying more than what we paid for it, but we also added another $300,000.
That's what I said. The urban renewal authority is going to be contributing to this project for the cleanup.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Ms. Davis, did you want to add to that?
Can I just clarify that? So a part of that money is going to be in the sale price. And I will say, and sometimes the point of the urban renewal is not to always make a profit. Like I can tell you the 44th and Wadsworth property in those senior apartments, that land was sold at a considerably lower price than what it was originally purchased for, because that's, unfortunately at the time, we thought, or the council thought, I wasn't here, that it was going to be Jefferson County office space and those types of things. So I guess I don't want to set a precedent that that we're giving away the farm or show, at least have it be seen that the city's given all this on 38th and Wadsworth when there's other instances where similar processes and similar situations have happened where basically the urban renewal lost money on some of their investments, as that's part of their role to get it moving forward. And we see what our investments have done even on that corner. So I guess I just want to make sure that's clear, that it's not unusual.
I wouldn't suggest that it would be unusual to have the Urban Renewal Authority invest in the city. That's not up for debate. It's the course of action that was proposed and was ratified through resolutions by council was not the course that was taken. So that would be my concern.
Mine was more to just address the monies and how and where they went and how they contributed to projects.
Care to add anything else, Mr. Goff?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Let's move on. I do want to say in regard to the item that Mr. DiTullio put in that there's quite a bit of information in here and considerations. I think that the council needs to look it over and make some decisions. I don't think we can deal with it particularly tonight, but we do need to consider these and look it over. Okay, Mr. Pond. Oh, did I miss Mr. Starker? I did. Mr. Starker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I didn't know whether that was on purpose or
I tried, but they
or on accident. So anyway, glad to say a couple of things. The main thing I wanted to say is I had the opportunity to go to the Criterium yesterday on 38th Avenue. Thought it was a great event. Really want to express my appreciation to the organizers and the great hard work of the volunteers that were there. The city staff did a marvelous job. Our public safety officers and all of the other city staff that were involved in that. I thought it was a very successful event. Great to see people out on what turned out to be a great day. And I actually rode my bicycle there and back. So I'm glad to have those kind of events in our city.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Pond.
Thank you. Just one thing. I want to, again, invite everyone tomorrow night, June 9th at 7 p.m. to the Wheat Ridge Rec Center. I believe it's the Carnation Room. To discuss Discovery Park and to provide feedback for the Discovery Park Task Force. The information is also on our website, but it'll be, I think, a great forum to provide feedback, experiences that you've had at Discovery Park, and to help us look at potential solutions to make it the great place that we imagined when we cut the ribbon on it just a couple of short years ago. Thanks.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
I'd just like to thank Public Works for a quick response to a puddle that's almost a lake size on 32nd Avenue as a result of all the rain. They responded very quickly and got it taken care of.
Ms. Langworthy.
Thank you. Couple of things. And nobody's mentioned this yet, but Anna Lee Ashford, who is a graduate of Wheat Ridge High School, won a Tony last night. So, yay, Wheat Ridge. She's been a graduate for a while, but still, we take that. Then I want to thank Mighty Joe's. They had their ribbon cutting on Saturday. Their food is terrific, and if you ever get a chance, they're kind of tucked behind the Starbucks. Their address is 10160 West 50th Avenue, and they have a lot more room than it looks like from the outside, so get in, enjoy the food. And I stopped by the Criterion before I went swimming, and a little barn, but it's amazing how fast those people can ride those bikes through the cities of Wheat Ridge. So thank you very much.
Ms. Wooden?
I guess I have a question regarding this that was passed out. I'm just kind of curious. Is it appropriate for a council member to be meeting privately with developers? I don't know. It was my understanding. I just want to comment that I wonder if it's appropriate for council members to be meeting behind the scenes with developers, and that I guess it's my understanding that developers work with our city economic development and our city staff, and then those issues are brought forward to city council to make decisions. And I just was never told if we're supposed to be all privately meeting with developers. I just would like some clarification and comments from other council members.
Okay.
I can answer that for me.
I'm sorry?
I can answer that for me. You know, I really get tired of you questioning my motives on everything I do. Until an application is filed and becomes quasi-judicial, we can meet with anybody we want. That's part of our job, for me anyway. And so if you don't want to meet with them and you think it's surreptitious, fine, but I don't. They contacted me and I met with them. And so what I gave you tonight was information, not about the developer. I gave it to you about Wheat Ridge Local and about some options to maybe have a win-win rather than a lose-lose in December and November. So I would really appreciate it that you quit questioning my motives on the dais and privately. Now, Mr. Dahl can answer this. I'm sure I don't do things illegal, and I know what the city attorney has ruled in the past. And until there's an application, we can talk to anybody we want, including each other.
Actually, at one time, when I was a new councilman, I had met with, I primarily was a developer, but later on it was uncomfortable because I had to, it was not quasi-judicial at the time, but then it became when the application came in, and I did have to recuse myself. So it is a slippery road, but Mr. Dahl, I'd like to hear from you.
Well, the rule is the one you've heard always from me, which is if it's a quasi-judicial matter, when the application comes in, that's when the curtain rings down, and that's when you can't talk to outside interests, the applicant, opponents, etc. If it's a quasi-judicial matter before the application has been filed, that rule doesn't apply, and you're permitted to speak with them. If it's a legislative matter, you know, that you're kind of encouraged, I think, to speak with people outside. The council certainly has the authority to write its own procedures for those kinds of contacts that are before the quasi-judicial curtain comes down, but the council has not done that. And unless and until the council does, it's up to each individual council member to decide how they want, you know, to proceed. The circumstance you described, Madam Mayor, I'm trying to recall what it was, but the only thing to be a little bit concerned about is prejudgment of a later development application. Mm-hmm. But that's, and I've told you all this, that's a much more subjective and vague, you know, arena. And I wouldn't take the prejudgment rule to prevent conversations, you know, all conversations. That I think would go too far. So unless and until council makes a rule around talking with applicants before they're applicants, you know, you are allowed to.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Urban.
I think it's a little disingenuous to suggest that they're meeting, that council members are meeting with developers behind the scenes. My understanding is Jerry met with those developers on Friday, and I believe I walked through Clancy's and saw him meeting with them in public. It's not behind the scenes And to suggest that, I think, is a little disingenuous. People can meet and discuss any number of issues as it relates to the city, whether the individuals live, work, or play in Wheat Ridge. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. If they have a concern about Wheat Ridge, a council member should, as a part of their job, have the ability to have a conversation with anybody. That shouldn't be filtered by the content of the conversation. It should be part of your job to communicate with any number of individuals, whether they're in the developing profession or the lending profession or a constituent or a city staff member, whoever it may be, as long as we're following the proper protocol. I don't see any problem with that, and to stifle that in any way, I think, does us a disservice. So I haven't met with any developers, but if I were to, I don't think that that's a matter of concern for anybody but myself. So that'd be my position.
I believe we're done with this one. I believe I can also, let's see, there was one other thing. On Sunday, I also attended the Leaves of Hope, which was the Lutheran Hospital fundraiser for cancer survivors. Very, very lovely occasion. Followed then, I went to the Criterion, which I agree was just great, absolutely great. Has some good stuff going on in our city, and I believe that's the end of the meeting tonight.